The Vice Economy: How Drugs, Alcohol, Gambling, and Prostitution Reveal Deeper Systemic Patterns. Introduction. We tend to treat vices, drugs, alcohol, gambling, prostitution as moral problems, individual failures, or unfortunate lifestyle choices. But these behaviors have persisted across civilizations, cultures, and centuries. Their consistency suggests they aren't anomalies. They're signals. Each vice arises not from excess, but from absence. They fill in where real fulfillment is lacking, offering momentary escape, stimulation, or validation when life becomes disorienting, dull, or disconnected. But instead of solving these needs, vices simulate their satisfaction, creating cycles of dependency that fuel profit for those who supply them. What emerges is not a collection of isolated bad habits, but a patterned system, a vice economy, designed not to heal human longing, but to monetize it. A system where suffering becomes sustainable and the cure is never truly delivered because the business model depends on keeping the wound open. This exposition maps the architecture of the vice economy. We'll explore the four major vices not as moral failings, but as distorted attempts to fulfill essential human needs. We'll examine how systems, from healthcare to media to tech, are structured to reinforce these loops. And we'll ask, what might it look like to build a world that meets the real need instead? 2. The Vice Quadrant as Signal, Not Sin. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, and prostitution are often grouped together in law, culture, and religion as vices, deviations from proper behavior, warning signs of moral decay. But that framing obscures something deeper. Each vice is a proxy for something real and legitimate that has gone unmet. These behaviors don't emerge from nowhere. They manifest in predictable ways, in response to core human needs that have been blocked, unmet, or twisted. And they cluster around four domains. Drugs promise transcendence and altered perception. Alcohol offers relief from pain and disconnection. Gambling simulates the thrill of destiny, reward, and significance. Prostitution offers transactional intimacy in the absence of meaningful connection. We call these vices, but they are, in truth, compressed signals, attempts to scratch itches the system hasn't figured out how to reach in healthy ways. Where real transcendence, meaning, and intimacy are missing, the vice enters as a substitute. Importantly, these are not private failings. They are systemic responses, adaptive behaviors within environments that lack fulfillment infrastructure. In this light, vices aren't sins, they're symptoms. And if they're symptoms, we can analyze them diagnostically. Each vice reveals what is missing from the cultural fabric, where systems are incentivized to sedate rather than satisfy, what deeper virtue or fulfillment the human psyche is reaching for. This brings us to the hidden mechanics of modern life, the architecture of false fulfillment. 3. The architecture of false fulfillment. Modern systems don't just allow vice, they often depend on it. In the absence of real meaning, purpose, and connection, our institutions have become experts at delivering fast, shallow, repeatable simulations of those experiences. This is the essence of false fulfillment, providing a sensation that mimics the real thing just long enough to keep the user coming back. These simulations don't require deep effort, real change, or system-wide reorientation. They're easy to distribute, addictive to consume, and profitable to scale. Let's examine the design. Drugs bypass the slow path to altered states like meditation, mastery, or insight, and offer instant perception shifts. The intent isn't growth, it's escape. Alcohol numbs emotion and discomfort, offering temporary oblivion instead of clarity, healing, or redirection. Gambling delivers the thrill of consequence and the illusion of destiny without the merit, preparation, or purpose that usually justifies risk. Prostitution provides physical access to intimacy, stripped of relational development, mutual selection, or emotional truth. Each of these vices is built to satisfy the urge without delivering the result. They simulate success while avoiding the path that builds it. And that's not accidental, it's systemic. Industries grow around these false fulfillments. Their profits depend on chronic dissatisfaction. The moment a person truly resolves the need, finds real purpose, deep love, self-mastery, the loop breaks. But the system isn't designed for resolution. It's designed for retention. False fulfillment is the design principle of the vice economy, and it operates everywhere. Healthcare that treats symptoms without addressing root causes. Education that trains compliance but fails to foster sovereignty. social media that offers dopamine hits instead of connection, finance that rewards speculation over creation. These aren't isolated problems. They're all expressions of the same economic logic. Keep the user just satisfied enough to return, but never fulfilled enough to leave. This prepares us to decode the deeper pattern each vice conceals, the real need behind the false fulfillment. Mirror opposites, what each vice reveals about the human psyche. If we view vices as distorted signals, then we can reverse engineer what each one is trying to replace. Each vice is a crude shortcut to something sacred. And when we examine them side by side, the deeper human longing becomes clear. 1. Drugs point towards self-actualization. Drug use often arises from a hunger for transcendence, altered consciousness, or escape from a suffocating norm. But the real goal is not sedation, it's elevation. The vice, drugs simulate spiritual awakening. The virtue, self-actualization, is the real pursuit, reaching peak states through mastery, flow, creativity, or inner clarity. 2. Alcohol points toward purpose and direction. Alcohol numbs pain, not just physical pain, but existential pain. It blurs the voice in your head asking, "Why am I here?" The vice, alcohol dulls failure, shame, and meaninglessness. The virtue, purpose is what people truly crave, a sense of momentum, contribution, and direction in life. 3. Gambling points toward merit and recognition. Gambling creates the illusion that you're chosen, special, lucky. It simulates destiny in a rigged environment. But underneath it is a yearning for earned significance. The vice, gambling offers randomized glory. The virtue, meritocratic excellence, becoming great at something and earning real recognition, is what actually satisfies. 4. Prostitution points toward authentic connection. Prostitution reduces intimacy to transaction. It allows access to the body while bypassing the mind, heart, and soul. But the desire isn't for novelty, it's for recognition. The vice, prostitution delivers bland novelty and a simulation of desire. The virtue, authentic romantic recognition, being chosen by someone you deeply desire and being seen as worthy in return, is the real need. Core insight: vices are cheap substitutes for the real thing. They pacify the need, but never fulfill it. This quadrant of false fulfillment versus real fulfillment is not just psychological, it's systemic. The vices flourish precisely because the systems that surround us make the virtues hard to reach. We now turn to how these vice-driven loops play out in the real world, and how entire industries grow around sustaining the problem instead of solving it. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. The vice economy in practice. The vice economy isn't a conspiracy, it's a convergence. Across industries and institutions, we see the same pattern. Economic systems thrive not by resolving human suffering, but by monetizing its persistence. Let's look at how this dynamic plays out in real-world systems. Healthcare, U.S. case study, the monetization of chronic dysfunction. In the United States, the healthcare system has become a primary engine of the vice economy. While it boasts world-class acute care, its chronic care model is built around lifelong management, not resolution. Patients with diabetes, autoimmune disorders, chronic pain, or mental health conditions are often prescribed pharmaceuticals that manage symptoms indefinitely, but rarely confront root causes such as diet, environment, trauma, or lifestyle. The result? A $4+ trillion industry where prevention is underfunded, side effects lead to more prescriptions, doctors are incentivized by throughput, not resolution. Suffering becomes a subscription model. It's not healing. It's habituation. The system profits more from your dependency than your freedom. Tech and media, addiction by design. Social media platforms simulate connection with likes, comments, and rapid feedback loops, but they often erode depth, trust, and real relationships. Like gambling, the interface delivers, maybe this time, dopamine bursts, variable rewards designed to keep users hooked. The logic is identical to a casino. Keep the user scrolling, exploit uncertainty and novelty, monetize attention, not fulfillment. What's absent is the kind of authentic intimacy or belonging that requires time, vulnerability, and effort. Finance, the illusion of value creation. The speculative economy, especially in its worst forms, rewards volatility over value, noise over signal. Day trading, sports betting, and meme stocks appeal to the same psychological impulse as slot machines, the illusion that you can bypass effort and still win big. It's not just about money, it's about meaning. People gamble because they want to feel lucky, chosen, special. And when the system offers no path to earn distinction, randomness becomes the next best thing. Commodified intimacy, loneliness at scale. From OnlyFans to transactional dating apps, the sex economy has exploded not just because of libido, but because of widespread isolation. These platforms simulate desire and connection, often reducing validation to a monthly fee. The industry thrives because authentic mutual recognition is scarce, and people are desperate to feel seen, even if they have to pay for the illusion. Each of these sectors reflects a deeper truth. The vice economy does not sell fulfillment. It sells the ongoing absence of it, just managed well enough to keep the customer coming back. And yet, there is an alternative. Systems can be designed to resolve rather than sustain, to liberate, not leash. Let's turn now to that possibility. Beyond the vice economy, systems that heal. If the vice economy thrives by offering simulations of fulfillment, then true systems of healing would do the opposite. They would address the underlying need and make themselves obsolete in the process. Such systems don't just deliver relief, they aim for resolution. They are harder to build, slower to scale, and less immediately profitable. But in the long arc, they produce real strength, sovereignty, and societal flourishing. Let's imagine how each quadrant of vice could be replaced with systems that aim not to sedate, but to satisfy at the root. From drugs, self-actualization systems. Instead of chemically hacking states of consciousness, systems could be designed to help people reach peak states through flow, learning, meditation, and mastery. Mental health systems rooted in trauma healing, not chemical suppression. Education designed around curiosity and inner expansion. Environments that foster meaning and intentional altered states, e.g., ritual, psychedelics under guidance. Transcendence isn't the problem. Synthetic shortcuts are. From alcohol, purpose-driven structures. Rather than numbing pain with sedation, we could build environments where people have direction, a felt sense of progress, and narratives that connect their lives to something bigger. Vocational alignment, education that finds and develops your unique contribution. Purpose architecture, communities, mentors, and cultural stories that help you orient. Environments that teach emotional processing, not repression. People don't drink to forget. They drink because they weren't taught how to remember who they are. From gambling, merit-based identity systems. The antidote to randomness is earned identity, systems that recognize, reward, and reinforce skill, discipline, and excellence. Reputation systems based on contribution, not popularity. Platforms that track learning, effort, and value creation. Cultural narratives that reward discipline over dopamine. In a just system, people don't chase luck. They pursue mastery. From prostitution, intimacy infrastructure. We need systems that make real connection more accessible than the transaction. That teach people how to build trust, foster attraction, and be worthy of being deeply known. Emotional education, learning how to relate, attune, and communicate. Platforms that prioritize depth and compatibility over novelty and metrics. Spaces for genuine romantic growth, mentorship, and shared discovery. Most people don't want sex. They want to be seen and feel safe being chosen. Designing for liberation, not dependence. The core design principle is simple, but rare. Build systems that aim to become obsolete. The purpose is not to retain users, it's to evolve them. This is the inverse of the vice economy, and while it may not always be lucrative in the short term, it is anti-fragile, designed for resilience, truth, and human flourishing. 7. Conclusion. The vice economy is not merely a collection of bad habits or indulgent behaviors. It is a design pattern, a structural response to unmet human needs, codified into the systems that surround us. It profits from pain, rewards dependence, and survives by offering endless simulations of fulfillment that never truly satisfy. It's not broken, it's functioning exactly as built. But by analyzing each vice as a signal, not a sin, we uncover the map to something better. Each behavior points us toward its opposite: self-actualization instead of sedation, purpose instead of numbness, earned recognition instead of illusion, intimacy instead of transaction. These are not moralistic prescriptions. They are systemic design challenges. The future isn't about banning vices, it's about making the virtues more accessible than the substitute. The deepest truth this framework reveals is simple. People aren't addicted to pleasure, they're starved of meaning. If we want to evolve past the vice economy, we must build systems that resolve rather than pacify, educate rather than sedate, liberate rather than loop. The goal is not just to resist the vice. The goal is to outdesign it,